Test. Good. And then I'm gonna just sort of shrink that. So
It's a fucking gorgeous background. What the fuck? Did you make that?
oh, this whole thing? Yeah, it's my mood board.
I love
My mood board slash. So that was last year's. This is this year's.
Ah,
So every single year I make a collage for what I
that
want.
is such a hot picture.
I know. I was like, that's what I want to manifest.
Yeah.
And I will say I've not exactly gotten.
Not yet.
Not yet. But we're on the way.
On the way.
Hey everybody, welcome to A Tiny Revolution, the first time live in my house. Today I have author, social media influencer, rock climbing enthusiast. This is Brandon Flannery, everybody. Welcome to A Tiny Revolution.
Hey, thanks for having me, Kevin. So glad to be here.
Somewhere in here there's like an applause sound thing, but I actually haven't worked with the soundboard at all, so sorry. Me and Brandon met because of the internet initially, and then we ended up hanging out, and then he moved to Atlanta, and now we're trying to get everybody else to move here because
It's a good space.
it is nice, and I have a room for rent. So if you're listening to this and you're thinking of moving to Atlanta, call me.
And their house is pretty awesome.
Yeah.
I've house sat here a little bit. I'm a little biased, but
Yeah, and you get your own bathroom, and you get to hang out with my dog.
tippers.
The best.
Get her too excited.
No, she's outside, so she's not here. Anyways, Brandon Flannery. How do you introduce yourself to people these days? That's the way I start these conversations.
Well, he, him, his pronouns, Brandon Flannery. I am an ex-pastor, ex-missionary, ex-evangelical who likes to write about the intersection of faith and sexuality. So I'm an author. I've written and done research around why people are leaving Christianity. I was an editor for a couple of newspapers, wrote an article called Why God's Pronouns Are They and Them, things like that. And I moved to Atlanta to kind of start fresh.
Preach.
Because I grew up in Colorado Springs, super evangelical. And I was like, I need to get the fuck out of here.
That's the, what's it called? They have Focus on the Family.
They do.
And,
Yeah.
And what's the one with the adoptions called?
I think you're thinking of Compassion. Where
Compassion
you can
International.
Yep.
My sister-in-law, her parents work there.
Cute.
Yeah.
I mean, they employ like thousands of people through those.
And statistically,
donations.
some of those people are gay.
Yeah, I actually have known quite a few that are there.
So,
Biblically. No.
oh my God, the insanity. So things we're here to do, talk about just being alive, but we're also here to talk about a special book that you have written and come. Also, I love this cover.
Thanks.
Everyone.
I really appreciate it.
It's called Stumbling, a sassy memoir about coming out of evangelical. Also, can I just say, I prefer these covers.
Same. I know.
I don't like
In the
having
sleeve?
I'm getting a sleeve, and I don't want that.
I love this.
This
the
is
texture
good.
is so nice.
I either want this or I want just a soft cover.
Yep, agreed.
Like these. That's too much paper. It's too much time, and it's fucking pointless.
Cause you like why? I guess you could take this off. I guess.
But then what?
Then
and for what?
It's
It's like, well, it's going to protect the book. I'm just like this is fine.
That's what a hardcover does.
That's what. Hello. Anyways, so what the hell is Stumbling about? I mean, obviously about coming out of evangelicalism, but like when you're describing it to people.
Yeah, like my elevator pitch is, I guess you could say, is my deconstruction process. For me, story is far more important and has been more powerful. I'm not a person that reads a book where it's like, here are the 5 steps for how to leave Christianity.
Here's the 5 things you can do to deconstruct your faith, but also come back to the Bible.
Exactly. Come back to the real answer. Don't let church hurt steal you from God.
Yeah. Oh, church hurt.
Listen,
I think the reason I came out was because it was trendy. Personally.
Yeah, for street cred.
Yeah. Street cred. They did say street cred.
They did say street cred.
Jesus.
Yeah.
Anyways.
That's a whole nother thing. But I love stories. So for me, I start my journey with leaving being a missionary. I was hitchhiking and with a friend, and like all of a sudden there was this culmination of a lot of different questions and hurts and pains, and I was alone a lot on the road, and so I had a lot of time to think about things, and so that's where it started.
That's when when you get alone with your own thoughts and you're finally able to stop listening to all the voices of literally every single person.
Yeah.
Because like every single person your entire life has told, at least, you know, for us, it's like,
this is how you live your life.
this is how you live your life.
I have the answer.
This is how you be a man. This is how you be a good
missionary.
a missionary and a good Christian and yada yada.
Yeah.
And so like when I got alone for the first time and started having my own thoughts and realizing, wait a second, the theology that they're handing me doesn't make any fucking sense.
Yeah. And we have similar stories because you were doing missions and that's shortly after was where you started questioning things, right?
Yes. It was like on the mission field.
Yep.
I was out there.
So with my research, it makes a lot of sense, like now having research.
That is like one of my favorite studies, and I reference it in my book.
Really?
I don't know if I told you that.
You did tell me. Oh, that's right. You did tell me this.
Yeah,
I mean,
you're in the works cited.
Me. In case you don't know, I surveyed 1,200 people and asked them why they're leaving Christianity, and the results are like they're not like none of them are like what, but it was really cool. Like reading these stories, also very honoring, and like people are sharing a lot with me, but kind of connecting that research with my own story, I think of exposure to difference because like we were both in different countries, coming in different belief systems.
Yes.
In combination for me, like my flavor of Christianity was very very charismatic. God will answer prayers.
Same.
And I would
healings, faith, work, miracles.
Yes. And I have seen some beautiful coincidences, but I would say actually like encounters with the divine where they came through, and then also like some things where they did not come through, and I'm now holding a disabled woman who doesn't have legs anymore crying.
Right. And you're supposed to just, like, I remember like going, I remember being in India and this woman had broken her leg and it had healed in such a way where it was like she could not walk and she would never walk again without in medical intervention unless there was a miracle. And I was sitting there praying for a miracle to happen because I was told that's what was happening. And then I thought, I must not have enough faith.
Yep, exactly.
And how was it that the leaders of the I've been like thinking a lot about my missions life recently.
Interesting.
And now I'm thinking, I'm just like, I need to get somebody out there needs to finance a docu-series on YWAM and Adventures and Missions.
Yep. All those other ones.
But it's just like, they're all telling me, it's like, some bitch at G42 said that he could walk through walls. I'm not even fucking kidding you.
You fucking kidding? No, you just said you're not kidding me.
I'm not. Somebody, like the story of
the fuck?
Story of another racer who went to G42 leadership.
The fact y'all have terminology too, a racer.
Oh yeah, we call the world racers, the YWAMers.
Yeah.
Anyways, so you were coming out of that space.
Really quick timeout. It's also interesting. India as well. Also, she got hit by a bus and it was her leg. It was the exact same stuff.
And we were supposed to pray that God would.
And I did pray for her and say, "Stand up, believe." And she's crying because I'm like telling her to stand up, and her leg isn't getting healed.
Oh.
Yeah. Yeah, and I'm seeing for the first time, to steal your phrase, I've actually referenced it a lot, just like how my theology was literally causing harm in someone's life. Mm-hmm. And then my brother immediately got into another car accident, also having a leg issue. We're all praying for it. Nothing's happening. So like there was this culmination of so many things. And so I wrote all my stories down because I kept running into conversations with people who were later in life deconstructing because of 2020, Trump, BLM, like not aligning with Black Lives, COVID. And my friends who like were employed by mega churches, employed by big parachurch organizations are now coming to me because of me being a homosexual.
Yeah, a liberal practicing homosexual.
Yeah, because I like the mans. That it forced me to deconstruct ahead of them. And also because I like went out, tried the shit and it didn't fucking work.
That's the thing. If you can't test the theology, like, first of all, if you're not allowed to test it, and most of us were not allowed to test anything.
Yeah.
Even though that's like what we're commanded to do in the fucking book.
Yep.
And because again, like, for all the reasons that evangelicalism does what it does, it like makes everybody another. Mm-hmm. We're on the inside. We've got the truth. Which like, anyways.
Which for me now, it's just so beautiful with like this new liberty of and I offer some answers that have worked for me, but I also say like anyone that says these are the answers is fucking something. Yeah. But like I found some answers, and that's my hope is like that my hope is like here's my journey, it might not be your journey. It's not your journey. But if it helps you, if it gives aid, if you find some answers in my stories and also some mistakes where you can say, like, well, I'm really glad I didn't fucking do that shit. Then it's been a win for me because I found some answers, but more than anything, I have found more questions, and those questions no longer scare me. That's
the thing. Is like, it's not even like arriving at a new place. It's getting free from fear.
Yeah.
And I think that's like, the good book says that perfect love drives out all fear. And I just think that too many of us spent our entire lives fucking scared shitless.
Yeah.
And now we're on the other side of it, like tapping into a new thing, and still on some level we're scared shitless of.
Yeah. Maybe we're wrong.
Yeah.
It still stays with you.
I mean, not me.
Not at all. Not at all.
I do not have a single day in my life where I think that I could be wrong anymore. As far as like the evangelical white male God, the fear of hell if I don't do a certain religious thing, no. That's gone.
Interesting.
And I
would say that's gone. Like most days, like 95% of days, that is true. But it's interesting because I'm way more comfortable with being like, oh no, I'm probably wrong about a fuck ton.
Oh sure, like.
But you believe you're like, that is absolutely not true. I know for certain that is not true.
As far as we can know anything.
Here's what I would say. On even those days where I like let that 5% where it's like, ugh, I will say it's gotten less and less and less. And what I always cling to is that even with the words of Jesus is judge a tree by its fruit. And I'm like, even if I am, what is the fruit
of my life?
Well, I would say actually the reason I know that is not true, like white, male-led evangelicalism, is I'm like, what is the fruit? It is colonization. It is pain. It is us versus them.
Death.
Like, yeah. And so much of what I see there, I'm like, no, there's no fruit for me to believe in that. I don't care if this is where there's been a huge shift for me is I don't care if you believe that your pet piece of paper is the creator of the universe. I really don't.
Oh, wait. Did you catch that?
What?
Did you catch that?
No.
You called the Bible a pet piece of paper.
I was literally talking about a pet piece of, like, this piece of paper, but we can do the Bible too.
No, but you weren't referencing the Bible?
No.
I thought you were throwing some major shade. I was like, that's good.
But actually, let's take that. That was intentional,
piece
actually.
of paper that you call your God, oh, that's hot.
I'm just like, I really don't care what you believe. What I care about is how your theology makes you show up in the world. And if it is
practical,
if it is bringing life to you and the people around you, I'm for it. I don't care what it is. I don't care if we're literally at theological odds. If your theology is bringing about life and love to yourself and the people around you, I don't care. I'm so happy for you.
Ding dong. And because like therein you're practicing the two greatest commandments that Christ gave us. And so it's like, there's nothing to argue about anymore. But as far as like I have zero fear of God anymore. Like I do not feel that
you're going to have this eternal punishment.
No.
Yeah.
I mean, I have fully swung to like the other side. Like I I would say that like my cosmology is a little bit more yogic now, or a lot of bit more yogic, because I'm fully here that I don't think birth is the beginning and I don't think death is the end. I think I've been here a few times at least, and I think I will do something after this too. And I think this is true of everybody. I've
been actually thinking about this a lot because I'm like, you're telling me I have one consciousness for forever. Like, I feel like I would get so bored.
What a waste. What a waste.
So bored.
Are you telling, like, that's the thing. It's just like, God, like, you created consciousness. Like billions of conscious identities, and you only want to use them once?
Yeah.
Like, there's a reason people replay video games, baby.
On repeat. I will say this also about fear in particular, especially with the binding thing. There was a big shift for me in the space. I talk about that at some points in this too, is there's a quote, a satanic statement, and it is the devil has been the best friend of the church because he's filled her pews. And it was definitely a thing that brought a lot of freedom around fear, because I do think that fear, I mean, it's so interesting going back to what you said about perfect love casting out fear is like so much of evangelical Christianity is fear oriented. The end times are coming. You need to get ready. This people group is trying to shove this agenda down your throat. You need to homeschool your kids to take them out of the world because the world is too much. This movie's bad and it's going to bring like, there's a demon behind everything. You get demon possessed if you watch Harry Potter.
And like, let me tell you what, my uncle did preach that sermon, and then a couple years later when Harry Potter 2 came out in theaters, we went to see it. And he
With
said,
him?
Yes, and he said, it was not that bad.
That's the devil talking.
Come on, he was, listen, that Hermione Granger Hermione Granger.
She is the grandeur.
Yeah. Anyways, tell me about, okay, so you're coming out of evangelicalism. You're like telling these stories. What was the hardest part about writing this book? Because this has been like a project you've had for a while too.
A while, yeah. The few points. I would say they all goes back to kind of I think the ending. Because I use story. I think that our exposure to story always has a happy ending, or like, you know, they ride off into the sunset and all the problems are resolved. Life doesn't work that way. And so I think
boop. Life doesn't work that way, bitch. Just, I don't know if you were coming here to get some hope, but not today, bitch. I'm going to let you know about the suffering.
I'm just which I've changed my perspective around suffering and pain and death. And, yeah, it's just interesting because I think that in evangelical Christianity, we're not taught to incorporate those elements into our life. We're supposed to repel them. We're supposed to repress them. We're supposed to believe against them. And now like there's been this inclusion where it's not all like it's a part of my life and I don't have to judge it as good or bad. In fact, it can bring goodness. It just is.
Suffering just is.
It just is. And so so the ending was the hardest part because my ego was very involved at the beginning, at the inception of this, because I was like, all my friends who are now questioning evangelicalism, like, I need to write a book for them and I'm going to give them some answers.
I've got to guide them to the Holy Land. Yes,
I'm finally going to make myself of something with this pain of leaving Christianity. I'm finally going to count for something. And I had a good ending. It was, I wrestled and lost my faith overseas, and I was daring to believe in something beyond me going back overseas. I was going to go teach English in Korea. And I had sold everything. I was going there. This is such a good book.
The drama.
Oh, it was such a good, happy ending. And I was going to end it on the plane. I had the chapter mapped out. I started writing it in quarantine while I was in Korea. And literally after selling everything, after daring to trust that maybe there's divinity and purpose and all this stuff, some magic to the universe, I get over there and within 4 weeks of me moving, my best friend dies. Mm-hmm. And
spoiler alerts, everybody. Sorry.
It's literally in the first page. I said, this is how it ends. So yeah. I'm not spoiling too much.
Very Romeo and Juliet.
Yeah. Very Moulin Rouge, where he's just my lover dies. Like that. Yeah. Anyway. But in this case, it was my best friend, and his death really shook up so much for me, because I'm like, what the fuck? Where is a God in the midst of this? I know we all have to die, but right now, and after all this, and after how dare you was kind of my reaction at first. And so I came back from overseas, and a good friend of mine who was also a missionary with me was like, how's the book writing going? And I go, I'm not doing it anymore. I'm like, and he's like, why not? And I said, it's a shitty ending. It's a shitty ending. Man loses faith, dares to believe in something beyond himself, sells everything, goes overseas to get severely disappointed. Mm-hmm. And my friend was
Par for the course.
Yeah. Well, and that's what he essentially what he said is just but I think it's a life ending. It's a human ending. That is human. Is we dare to believe, and sometimes it doesn't work. And that's okay, because there's life keeps going. The credits, life doesn't stop at the credits.
Hello. And that's really the thing, is to recognize that the hardest things that we survive, the hardest things we go through, the worst part about them usually is that they won't kill us. Mm-hmm.
And that's what's so crazy for me now is moving here. Mm-hmm. There was this actually here being Atlanta from Colorado. It was really new. I've been here since February, and there was this old physiological reaction that came up when I was deciding this, and it was it was like this traumatic thing in my body of like, fuck, we're doing it again. We're picking up and we're leaving. What happens if it goes bad again? What happens if someone else dies again?
Bad news. People will.
People will. Everyone will.
Yeah.
No one gets out of here alive.
God damn it.
And so it's just an interesting thing of like, no, I sold everything. I like tried to start my life over and it failed miserably. Like if there was like the worst way something could happen, I kind of experienced it and I made it through. I'm okay. And it's grown me. And like, I now can incorporate death into my experience of humanity. It's now no longer something that I'm terrified of. Like it's something that I like think about quite regularly without this terror anymore.
Yeah, same.
Was it because of death?
Yeah, when my dad died, that was like the big one for me. I had experienced friends dying before, but he was the first death that I experienced after I had come out and like everything fell apart. And so by that point, I had like pulled apart what I thought about heaven and hell and, you know, where do we go when we die? Are we still around? Yeah. I think for a while. So at least from where I'm like, it was because I changed my mind about death that I was actually able to like heal a lot of those wounds that my father left. And now I'm just working on my mother wounds but she's alive. So that complicates it.
At least with your dad, you can just project what you would like.
That's exactly it. I'm just like, oh yeah, my dad is totally free of all the things.
He would say this. He's now enlightened. Da, 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 da.
I'm like, seriously, I'm just like, and that's how I've like had to think about it. Because like
mom, on the other hand, she's still here. I can't make up shit.
I'm not allowed to demand or project anything. You know, I have to. It's like how am I going to love her where she is, and how am I going to love me where I'm at with where she is and where we want to go together. Maybe. But like that's I mean, that's the work, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. Yeah. So that would be the hardest thing. Like for me, it was definitely like the ending and coming to terms with the ending. But now I'm so happy with how it ends. And there's this moment where the last chapter I added 6 months ago. I had written so much of this book like 2 years ago and I was exhausted with it. I hated it. I didn't want to look at it anymore. I was like so tired of it. And 9 months ago, it's just like, I think that it's an incomplete ending. And like, there's this moment where I like talked to use like where you've reconciled with your dad, like talk to my dead friend. I'm like, I think this might be blasphemy, but who fucking cares?
I mean, maybe, but the thing about it is that like we talk to our dead all the time. People like roll up on the cemetery and just go talk to a headstone, like they're there and like they can hear them. And I'm just like, the reason that it feels like they're in the room with you is maybe because they're in the room with you.
And I felt differences. There have been times where I've talked with him. And it's like he's so close. And other times I'm just like, he's busy. He got a widow and kids to take care of. You got to be there. But I have felt his presence at times. And it's been so comforting. So that would be the hardest moment for me, was the ending.
Yeah. Sorry, that sucks.
Yeah.
And but that is how you respond when someone says my friend died.
Yep.
That's
not like, well, they're in a better place.
He's feeling so much. He's got his heavenly body.
Heaven needed another angel. You know, we don't understand the Lord's ways.
His ways are higher than our ways.
What was really interesting is like, so this death really shook me up. And while I was in Colorado recently, a really good family friend died. And it was so interesting contrasting the two, because one was earth shattering and the other one still very close. We'd spend every single holiday together, and he passed. And because I had done the work around like, what does death look like? I felt like I could be present for the people who are grieving. I didn't have to put these Band-Aid answers on that actually don't work, because we don't have to, we can't test them. That's the thing with us, is we fucking tested it and it blew up. It makes me think of this tweet by Caitlin J. Stout, where she said, the people who are starting to deconstruct are the ones that took it the most seriously.
The ones who graduated.
And it's so true, because it's just like, no, I really wrestle with this. I put things in practice and some fell flat. Some. And that's where it's like, I'm still a spiritual person, because some spaghetti stuck. And like, I'm so grateful for that. And like Jesus, I really still can't fucking shake. Like there's such beauty.
Why would
to
we
that
want
person.
to? That's the thing. I am now in my devotional era. Like I am in a full blown, I love Jesus. He is my teacher, my brother, and my friend. And every single day I sit my ass down in front of that altar and I talk with him and I connect with him. And I think that sounds psycho, but I do it.
It's so interesting just even owning that, because there's so many times I'm just like, it might be God, it might be schizophrenia, I don't know, but this
Could be.
this connection stabilizes me. It creates hope for me. It creates joy in the people around me, and I think that's good. Like, I don't. At the end of the day, even if it is schizophrenia, I mean, it is helping me.
Why is this recording? Well, that's recording. So this is still recording. So we have all the audio. Don't worry. Did I not hit record? I hit record over here, but I didn't hit. And this is why we test things. It's a good thing that this is recording over here. Jesus.
We're so good at this.
We're so good at this.
We do this professionally.
I'm sitting over here. I'm just like, why isn't the counter going up? God almighty. But I will say, like, the audio quality of this is going to be superb. Perfect. So, I
have a question for you.
Oh, okay. Yes.
What is, you mentioned this the other day when we were trying this, 1 time, 2 time, 3 time, 4 time.
Oh my God. The way that the devil has been working against us.
Working against us.
On overtime.
We need to bind him.
Lord.
I would love to hear what.
Sorry.
You talked about how Jesus is your guru, and maybe you've talked about it more publicly, but I would love to hear more what that means for you.
Yeah. So I first started changing my mind about who I thought Jesus was as I started reading A Course in Miracles, which is a metaphysical text from 1975 that was penned by Dr. Helen Schumann. And from where they're sitting, they said, Jesus came through and said, this is A Course in Miracles, take notes. And then she did. And much like everything else in my practical theology brain, it's test everything. And that book even says it's like, use this as a tool. If it's helpful for you, use it. If it's not helpful for you, move on.
Yeah.
And it has been incredibly helpful for me. And it really helped me change my mind about God and about God's love and about like the presence of how we connect with that. And so the Course posits the idea that Jesus himself is not Savior in as much as like saves our soul from hell, but is our brother, our teacher, and our friend. And so he is the one who, if you want, he can help us bridge the gap between here and heaven, if you will, or the awareness of love's presence in all things at all times. And so when I say that Jesus is my guru, I mean that in the sense that the word guru means dispeller of darkness, guru, which is darkness dispeller, or bringer of, the reflexive bringer of light.
I didn't know that.
And I just throughout my mystical Christian experience, which has been the whole time, but we didn't call it mysticism back then. They called it, you're just crazy and you're emotional. But like for my entire life, have had this delicious mystical relationship to the Christ, and the person of Jesus. It's the language I know the most. And so when I say that I'm in my devotional era, I mean that like I'm not picking up my Bible and reading it every day. I'm not like right now I'm reading the poems of Rumi, but like I have hidden his words in my heart that I may not sin against God. And like it's so fucking deep in my bones. Like even when I'm teaching my students now, I start talking, I use Christian language. I'm just like, this is the meaning of this. I was like, remember when we heard this? I was like, this is what I think it actually means. Like I look at the teachings of Jesus and I think they're brilliant and incredibly applicable all the time. You just got to have different eyes to look at them, if you will. And it takes work. For me, it took work and time because like at first it was like I was trying to prove a historical Jesus was true and I wanted that to be true. And I'm just like, even if Christ is just a thought in my brain, I am so much happier. And like the way that I've come alive as a result of dedicating myself to this mystical path is proof in and of itself. Again, it's the fruit. Like I'm rid of fear. I trust that my needs will be met. Oh, hello. Like I have someone on whom I can rely, if you will. And it just is the most wonderful, unbearable compassion that comes from what feels like somewhere outside myself, but whether it's from, the Christ or whether it's from the deepest part of myself, I ask, what's the difference?
Yeah.
And that's literally what Christ is. I think Jesus is saying. It's just like, the only difference between you and me, kid, is time. He's had 2,000 years to practice, I've had 33. Now, granted, by 33, he had become the Bodhisattva. But yeah, so that's kind of what I mean, is like, I still connect and like I see him in my mind. And it's a lot of the time, it's just him pointing to the heart and saying, remember this, remember this. That's like the only teaching I've ever needed. So does that make sense?
Yeah.
At least mildly.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I always am curious and have like more and more questions, but yeah, I think in general it does.
And the thing about it is like, none of this really matters. None of these details, none of this stuff over here on my puja table, none of the theology that we create, none of it's important. What's important is the experience of love. And to experience that love for yourself and that compassion for yourself.
When you say the experience, you mean like what occurs in these devotional moments? Or what,
no, I mean your everyday life. If if the practice is not transforming your everyday life and making your interactions with this world better, shitty practice.
Yep.
But my practice, I practice the feeling and the ideas that I want to carry with me throughout the day. And so for so long, the thought and the practice was, oh God, I'm a fucking dirty sinner, but thank God you died for me to redeem my shitty, shitty self. Please don't be too mad at me when I eventually sin later today. And I hope that I do something good for the kingdom. And now it's, here you are, here I am. Where would you have me go? What would you have me do? What would you have me say, and to whom? And that's my prayer every day. And that's it. I don't try to, supplicate or try to confess or, I don't have to make myself low before God anymore. God's not asking for that. So, but yeah, like the thing about it is like, I fully recognize that for many people, that's not going to happen. Even with my students, like I don't bring it up all the time because like for them, like it's not important. And in fact, they need difference. Yeah. They need distance from
what they've labeled Liz as the abuser.
Ding, ding, ding. Is that Jesus has become, I will say this, it's white Jesus.
Yeah. Has abused them.
Yes. And they can't.
And their body says they're not safe.
Yeah. And so it's just like, I want you to learn that you're safe in your own body. And like, the thing is like, for me, the vehicle might be Jesus, but like, that's not the only vehicle.
Yeah.
That's not the only like teacher that I'm connecting with. That's not the only spirit I'm connecting with, because Jesus is just a symbol for the potential in every human to be exponentially and endlessly loving and always connected to God. That's it.
I love that.
Yeah. And yeah, so it's like, for me, it's like, you can say that you're a Christian and have Jesus, but then you're still a shitty person.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. You're plagued by fear. You're plagued by us versus them.
And you're an asshole.
Bottom line, you're an asshole.
And I'm so sorry. If you claim to be a spiritual or religious person and you are an asshole, I have questions. I'm not saying that you're not the beloved, like you're not the beloved, or you're not, you're not in danger of the fires of hell. I just question what you think is spiritual.
You're in danger of causing harm.
Yeah, you are in danger of the fires of hell. Listen, the wheel of reincarnation is nothing to fuck with, my good bitch.
I remember there was this, my most recent article I wrote for, it was around what every pastor can do for queer people, even if they're not affirming. Like, I'm going to get it to the base level, what everyone can fucking do.
Tell the truth about your policy.
With that one, it's just like, be fucking honest. Like, if I were to distill it, just be fucking honest and put it on your website. Don't say we're going to have a conversation. Don't say everyone's welcome here. Put blatantly on your website what your theology practically looks like for queer people.
Yeah. We believe the marriage is between one man and one woman. This means that in order to be a member at our congregation, you must not be involved or practicing homosexuality.
The end. Thank you. Thank you for being honest and owning your belief. I don't agree with it. I think it's causing harm, but I can at least have informed consent to walk through your church doors.
And then I don't have to be around you.
Correct. But someone found an email. Somehow it was an old email. I don't even know how he found it. This guy reached out to me, and he brought up one point in my article where he says we can be quite clear on what the agenda of Jesus was, and I think we can't.
He died 2,000 years ago, so like literally can't know that. Literally can't.
2, he says quite a few different items on the agenda list according to the text that we have. There's not just one, but of all of the different agenda items that we have that we could point at in this text that we have, the one that this man picks, and it made me, I'm like, I don't want to continue the conversation because I know that I'm not going to like be heard, because the one agenda point that you picked was, I came to bring a sword. I came to divide father against child.
I do love that one. I'm not going to lie. But from a different perspective.
Okay, give me your perspective.
Well, first tell me what he did with it.
He left it and he was just like, he continued on with saying that like what we believe is going to hurt people, what we believe is going to cause division. And if people don't like it, that's just part of the deal.
Tough titties.
And I'm just like,
we're allowed to do anything as long as it's in service of the kingdom.
As long as we're on the right side.
Mm-hmm. Because we're going to heaven. I take that, but I take it to the other side of the thing.
Okay.
Is like, for me, being a follower of Jesus, inspires a more radical and, albeit liberal approach to things, and is on the side of inclusion, is on the side of radical justice, is on the side of indigenous sovereignty, is, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And so at least I think like when I read that passage, I'm like, oh yeah, that's precisely what happened within all of our families, is that
you were the one that the sword was turned against by the religious people.
In some ways, yes, but it's just like, to follow the path of Christ is, I mean, he even says it, if you love mother or father more than me, you can't. It's like, if you love the system that you came from more than me, you're not. It's not. And he says, you're not worthy of me. And I'm like, that's hot. Ooh, I love that. Because again, like, I'm just like, from the teacher's perspective, fuck yeah, he could say that. And also, we can get into that in another thing. But I look at that teaching and it radicalized me to say, like, it is worth everything to do the right thing. It is worth losing my family. It is worth losing my identity. It is worth losing what I think is my life for the sake of the gospel. Full circle. Because that's even what he says. Like, his disciples were like, hey, don't go to Jerusalem. And then he turns around and says to the crowd, unless you take up your cross and follow me, you can't come. And I read that as like, don't tell me not to go to the place where there's suffering, even if it's dangerous, even if it's going to be, like, even if we're going to ruffle feathers. You got to be willing to take on the consequences of the people you claim to love. That's called solidarity. And I think he was, see, this is where I go. Jesus has us in a bear trap.
What?
Jesus has us in a bear trap.
How so?
Just can't fucking get away from him.
I will say, and that's something that I also like came to terms with, and I talk about. It's just like, there are times where I fucking ran. I was just like, fuck this shit. It is causing harm. It is hurting me. I'm fucking out. And the systems and the things absolutely were. But I would bump into something or someone again and again. I'm just like, leave me the fuck alone. But I felt like there was this tenderness and this kindness that continued to come through that transcended Christianity, that transcended my past. And it did. It felt like that little kid that like is screaming a tantrum, just like, I was fucking hurt. Fuck all you. And the parents just like holding until like there's a calming down, and it's like, hey, you okay? I'm right here.
Source, higher mind, the spirit of the living God. Call it whatever you want. Call it love. Call it the universe. But that feeling of like the love that's like powering everything, I think even in those imperfect spaces, like I was like, I thought I had an experience of God. You may have. Did you experience great love in that moment? Did it lift you up?
Did it bring freedom?
Great. Then you probably did. If it filled you with guilt, shame, or anything like that, I would say question it. Okay, let's wrap it up because we will go off into the sunset with this thing, and we're already at 40 minutes. So, Brandon Flannery, are you ready to play Just One Thing 5 times?
Yes.
Yow! Okay, so Just One Thing 5 times is the same 5 questions I ask everybody at the end of the podcast, and it goes like this. What's one thing you like about yourself?
Being a homosexual.
Yeah.
I really am. And I say that like that's a big deal because I resented it for so much. And now I'm like, it's giving me so much goodness.
It's so dope.
It's what helped me like question the system of a person I was a part of.
Hello, somebody.
Because I was really paying off.
Yeah.
Being a cis-bodied white man.
We were on the way up. We could have, if we stayed in the church and stayed in the closet, we would have rode that train all the way up to megachurch pastor land.
I would have a very nice house.
Oh my God. No debt.
And
but no transferable skills.
No, you would be fucked. You'd be in that cul-de-sac and you better build it up because you ain't getting that shit out.
Ooh, hello. What is one thing that you're super proud of or just regular proud of?
This is so lame.
You can say the book.
I can't say the book. I can say, but I think it's like so funny. And you're proud. I don't know if you're like this, but like
I'm proud of my writing.
Yes, I really do love my writing. I fucking do.
Yes.
I will say it's just like, and I don't know if you relate to any of your writings this way. It's just like you've stared at it for so long. It's just like that's nice. But I am like I fucking love writing. I'm a nerdy ass English major. I nerd out on shit like the Oxford comma and repetition and parallelism and shit like that. And I do love that. But what I was going to say is that I did a 5'10" lead climb this weekend.
That's not stupid. You can be proud of your muscular butch man accomplishments.
Thank you.
Performing the male gender expeditiously
There's
well.
a lot of they, their, thems, and she's that were there this weekend. It was a queer climbing event.
Wow.
Okay.
Thank you. Thank you for correcting me.
You're welcome. Yeah, it's not a gendered thing.
What's one thing that pisses you off? It can be like super deep or it can be petty.
When someone on social media slides into my, not even on my DMs, in their comment says, show me that you actually haven't read the Bible because of some comment that I said, I'm like, no, bitch. Like I have read this thing so many fucking times and that is why I'm on this side of things. Like that is why.
That's the thing. Like if you actually, if you don't even do a close reading, not even a close reading, it's truly horrifying.
Problematic.
Yeah. What's one thing that you're, what is this one?
Excited
dedicated to? What's one thing you're dedicated to?
Oof, I don't feel like there's a ton of dedication in my life right now because I feel so open. Like me coming to Atlanta is just like, I guess I'm dedicated to curiosity right now.
That's good.
And openness. Like I really do want to be like, I'm so much more comfortable with the question of like, I don't know, let's find out. I don't know, let's find out. And that used to terrify me. And so I guess I'm really committed to that. Like I've done some more scary things in the last year and a half because it's just like, I don't know. Let's find out. I've experienced one of the worst things, so it can't be that bad.
That's the thing. Once you go through the worst thing, it kind of puts you into the second half of life and everything is so much less serious. Yeah. Yep. It's like you can fail. Yeah. Things will fail, things will fall apart. And then it's like, well, I've already, my life has fallen apart 3 times over and now I'm back and better than ever, baby. What is one thing you want to do before you die? Just one thing.
There's so many things.
No, just pick one. Don't be too serious. It doesn't have to be the thing.
Yeah.
Just one thing.
I guess, this is so cliche.
Could be, but if it's real.
Yeah, but if it's real. I guess just like, I love going to new places because it opens me up and I experience new things. So I just want to see more of the world and more people. It is so lame, but I'm just
I travel more.
I do. Yeah. Maybe hit every single continent. That'd be kind of fun.
I have said I want to wake up on every continent, and I have done 3.
I will say what's been kind of cool is I was like, I do want, even when I was a little kid, I'm like, I want to publish a fucking book. So I knocked one out. I did knock one out.
Yeah. That's the thing. It's just like, knock it out, get it done. And then think about the next one if you want a next one.
It makes me, it's so stupid. Again, not really lame, but to pull back our Christian upbringing, I do think when it comes to this stuff, I hear Switchfoot. This is your life. Are you who you want to be?
This will never see the light of day. Brandon, thank you for coming on the podcast. Please tell people on the internet where they can find you, your work, and the book.
You can go to brandonflannery.com. Flannery has 1 N. had a drunk relative, I think. BrandonFlanary.com. That's where you can order the book. That's where you can read some of my more writings. Honestly, also, if you just Google me, shit will pop up.
Google me. And also, this is what the book looks like. We're going to hold it up nicely. And that'll be great. That'll be great for the
cover.
Yeah, the
YouTube cover.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much for coming on the podcast. It was a delight. It was a treat. I love you so much.
Love you so much. Grateful for you.